was directed by Craig Gillespie and stars Emma Stone and Emma Thompson. And the story follows a young woman named Estella who dreams of one day becoming a fashion designer. However, certain things unfold, which pushes this young lady into question if she's destined for more than meets the eye. I remember the original 101 Dalmatians as a kid, let's face it, who has not watched that movie at my age. And I also remember the early 2000 remakes 101 Dalmatian with Glenn Close, which I also liked. It's been a while since I've seen either of those adaptations, but I do remember a great deal. And I do remember Glenn Close as Cruella and, of course, the original. And Cruella is basically a villainized backstory. And this wasn't on my must-see list, but I figured, what the hell, it's a movie. I'm going to give you guys a review because you deserve it. That being said, this movie, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't the greatest either. So that being said, let's get on to the positives of Cruella. First and foremost, Emma Stone. She was great in this. I never once doubted her ability to play this part because watching the trailer, I always thought to myself, this woman might pull it off. And that she did. When you first see her in this film, she was sad. She was a little desperate. She was needing a break. The hits just kept on coming. So you kind of felt sorry for this character. But by the second act, when Cruella took over, she definitely put in her all in this. When she transforms, she definitely shows the hatefulness that we all know and love, the spitefulness, and it definitely shows in this woman's performance. And Emma Stone's performance, she did a pretty good job. And this hateful, spiteful old hag that we all know and love, she was definitely spot on.
Do you ever like to know you always tell me?
Let's not forget Emma Thompson. The Emma girls. But seriously, Emma Thompson was pretty good too. Even though this was a supervillain backstory, I think every supervillain needs their own supervillain. Pretty much. And that's basically what Emma Thompson played in this. She put the S in snob, pretty much. She was evil within herself, conniving, ruthless. Everything in a true villain that you want. And Emma Thompson played it off pretty good. She basically plays the boss of Emma Stone's character. And she's this really powerful woman in London, this really famous fashion designer that pretty much made a name for herself. It definitely shows in her character that she's not likable at all. That's what captivated me towards her, because that showed me right there, okay, she's a pretty cool villain within herself within this movie. The look and feel of this was pretty cool. We all knew that this was not a typical Disney movie. This movie was rated PG-13, so it's not your basic everyday kid movie. Definitely not a kid movie. It does go dark. It's got a dark message in it. There's death, there's ruthlessness all around. This is definitely not really a kid's movie, but it still holds its own. It's one of those movies that definitely holds its own. I can definitely see why some parents being kind of mad at this. Not all, but some. There was quite a few kids that came into the theaters that watched this with me, and quite a few of them kind of enjoyed it. But again, I can see why parents would get kind of frustrated at this, kind of pissed off at this movie, because it does have a dark feel to this movie. A dark tone to this. Most kids can handle it, but some can't, so I can kind of see why. Like I said, it's not your typical average Disney movie. It definitely had balls. I'm always a sucker for dark films. Y'all all know that, but I'm always a sucker for dark movies, no matter what it is. Moving on to the mixed. The soundtrack was awesome. Let me just make that clear. There was some music in there that I found myself bobbing my head up and down, and there was like a few mixes of old school and new school. Old school rock and new school. But the problem with it is that, and I've heard this complaint many times, and I'm not just saying this because they said it, because other critics said it, but after watching the movie, I kind of agree. They kind of went overboard with it. There was certain scenes where it could have just been a normal score, but with the soundtrack, with most of the songs that they chose to play in it, they kind of overdid it a little bit. And I can kind of see why, some people kind of getting taken away from it. But again, I like the music in it, so that's why I'm putting this particular one in the mixed. It was some cool music in it, but it just felt like they could have toned it down just a little bit. And that being said, let's move into the negatives. It was a little bit of a messy backstory. We all know that Cruella hates Dalmatians. From what I remember from the character, she does not like Dalmatians. But I just didn't get that in this. This is supposed to be one of those backstory on how and why. But I didn't really, there was like there was a scene where I was thinking to myself, okay, so that's why. But then the next scene, like, as the movie progresses, it kind of contradicts that. It gets away from that. Yeah, it mostly focuses on, like, the character herself, but they need to explain certain things, and I just did not get that in this. Like I said, there was certain scenes that made me think, okay, that's why. But then, as the movie progresses, wait, that's a contradiction right there. So I didn't really get, like, the full picture as to what was going on because it was so messy. And because of that, it just didn't really do anything for me. It didn't do that much. Like I said, it was contradicting. You know, certain things happen, and then other things happen that cancel that out. So I was like, what? Yeah, a little messy. Plus, the tone and pace was a little draggy. This movie runs over 2 hours. And I just didn't feel like something like this should have been that long. If they'd have just cut some scenes out and then replaced it with more, I don't know, why scenes, then it would have been a little better. You know, in my opinion anyway. It dragged on too long. I think that's what made the whole entire backstory as a whole a little messy for me. I felt like if they'd have just shortened it down to like an hour and 40 minutes and replaced some of the scenes with more of the why she hates Dalmatians, because there was Dalmatians in this. I mean, not much. There's only 3, but, you know, as it shows in the trailer. But literally, they were there, and they never put in a why. Like I said, it was more of like a tricky move on their part. And it's like, okay, whatever. It just felt like a nosedive, but as a whole, the film had its moments. Cruella is a decent enough film, but if you're expecting too much, don't hold your breath. It's an acquired taste. So Cruella, what did you think of it? Did you like this movie? Did you hate it? Is this your favorite Disney adaptation, or is this your worst? Leave me your comment down below and give me your thoughts. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this video. Like, subscribe, comment, and share, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace the rip out.